Hey, y'all, welcome back to That Atleti Podcast. Jeremy and Ricky here with you, and we have quite the agenda today, man. We have some transfer stuff, the end of the Club World Cup campaign, some spicy topics on hand,
So many things to talk about.
and so little time.
It's true.
So,
I haven't
well,
seen you in a ton of time.
well, yeah, long time no see, truly. We were on the Atleti Fanatics podcast earlier today,
For 2 hours and a half.
a marathon show with Alex and St. Keeks. You guys might be able to hear that by the time the show comes out.
Maybe we overdid our welcome. Maybe we were there longer than expected.
Listen, I'm used to that.
Yeah.
I'm used to getting told that.
It was Ruben Oria vibe totally. You go in for 20 minutes, you stay for an hour and a half.
Yeah, man. But listen, there are a few things in life I would rather do than talk about Atleti with some friends, and I am fortunate. We are fortunate to get to do that in English.
It is a fun thing to do.
Yeah. So speaking of well, this actually wasn't a fun thing, so not a great transition, but the end of the Club World Cup campaign, Ricky. Did you know Atleti were the only team to get 6 points in the group stage and get knocked out anyway?
Oh yes. I mean,
Classic Atleti.
I have a friend that works at UEFA, and I think I shared this fact with you. It's the only time in World Cup history where a team getting 6 points is not qualified and gone through the group stage. In fact, it's only happened 3 times in history. It happened to South Korea in the Confederation Cup,
2001.
And it happened to Napoli, 2013, 2014 Champions League. Only 3 teams to ever do that. I mean, tell me Atleti without saying Atleti. It's like 6 points in the group stage, go home.
That was actually exactly what you said to me.
And it was, and it's a little bit like, did you feel that it's fair that Atletico was eliminated, seeing the overall, because we hold Atleti to a high standard and we don't want to win at any cost. We leave that to other teams in the city. You do get the feeling that Atleti probably didn't deserve to pass the group stage, and at the same time, they did do enough to pass the group stage, and it was just because of all of these, I don't know, extracurriculars going on that happened. The indecent refereeing, worst refereeing that I've seen since Atletico was knocked out of Champions League a couple of months ago, and up there in my top 10 of worst refereeing I've seen in my life. The 3 games, especially the one against PSG, was flagrant and very painful to
disgraceful.
Yeah. I just think that referees are, I don't know, taking into consideration information about which teams are more relevant and need to be in the next stage, because it does seem that there is a certain bias when refereeing teams. You do know that big names normally carry a favorable refereeing, but here we have world teams, and you do see that the refereeing is just so lopsided. And self-inflicted mistakes, self-inflicted harm, which is maybe Lenglet's middle name. Come on, self-inflicted
Lenglet.
Man. And the ridiculous penalties called, penalties not called,
especially against Botafogo.
Not allowed after scoring them. The whole 8 miles. You got the whole experience of shady refereeing in only 3 matches.
Just a panorama of shitty refereeing.
Yes.
Across 270 minutes. The weird / funny thing is, against Botafogo, I think Atletico played by far its best game of the competition. Probably the best game that this team can play. And what do I mean by that? The players that Atleti currently have in the squad, the players that Simeone has at his disposal, that game against Botafogo at the Rose Bowl was about as well as they could do. They
No.
could not give any more. And Simeone said practically the same thing after the game. He could not reproach the players. He just said, we're calm. We know exactly what we need. We know exactly how to go about basically reinforcing the team. And now that the Club World Cup elimination has been confirmed, Atleti are on vacation until July 21st. That's when they reconvene for preseason. And we have not one, not two, but three possible signings in the pipeline, Ricky. How exciting is this?
And it does seem to align with the idea that we were pushing a couple of weeks ago, that signings were connected to Atleti's fiscal year.
Mhm.
And they're not official yet. They seem to be done deals. It's like both clubs have the draft contracts with the date set at the top, but it's not ready for execution quite yet.
Gotta wait a
Both
few more days.
outgoing and incoming. You do have the feeling that it works on several sides, because today it felt like a done deal that Riquelme is on his way out, as it was reported by several outlets that there is an agreement in place with Real Betis to acquire 50% of his rights for an amount that some are reporting as 8 million, others are reporting as 9. The 16, 18 million bracket seems to be in accordance with his market value. It feels like a very good deal for all sides, for Atletico, because they wanted to make space. They probably did not have a role for Riquelme to play. He was probably not a player that the team wanted to keep around for the player, because he gets a chance to reignite his career and look for a place where he's going to play European football. He has a chance of being successful and having a long, prosperous career. He's a very good kid. He's an Atleti kid, and we really want to take care of our own for Betis, because it's the land of the wingers, and it seems like he's going to thrive there. And it's a great opportunity for them to exploit a player that is probably not up to or doesn't work within the constraints of Atleti's tight-knit system, but may work very well in Betis. I wouldn't say looser system, but maybe offensively oriented
Yeah.
team that favors attacking over defending, and is maybe an environment more in accordance to where Riquelme can shine.
Yeah, I think it was a move that had to happen. Riquelme had to have a change of scenery. And to the point of, he's an academy kid, he's an Atleti kid, born and bred. You want to take care of your own. It sucks that it didn't work out for him here. He's clearly talented. His versatility is both a blessing and a curse. Just never really found a home in Simeone's team. I guess where he was at his best was kind of playing as a left wing back, which is very much not his position. And he was competing with Samolino for those minutes, and this season he just fell down the pecking order very quick and very early. There were chances for him to leave in January, but he wanted to stay. Understood. Try to fight for your place. He did get some minutes toward the end of the year during Angel Correa's suspension, most prominently. But yeah, it seems like this is a pretty good deal for all parties, and I'm sure Roro he's signing a 5-year contract there. He's got plenty of time to prove himself. He's only 25. Is he even 25 yet?
He's 25.
Yeah. So he's still, you would say, approaching prime age. And like you said, it's a system that is probably more favorable for him. Pellegrini and his wingers, he really knows how to coach them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I couldn't agree more.
So Roro is going to Betis. Johnny Cardoso is coming to Atletico from Betis. Yes. For me, this is a pretty exciting
separate operations, but they seem to be
separate but linked,
interconnected. Yeah, separate but the same, part of the same vibe of operations. Yeah.
So basically, in the books, you can write it as you're signing Cardoso for around 20 million or so.
It is. Yeah,
it's a 30 million fee, give or take, to Betis. You subtract the 8 from 50% of Riquelme's rights.
And I mean,
pretty good deal.
I was reading some complaints about selling only 50% of the value of the player, because you could get stuck with that in your books, but it could work the other way. Riquelme could just have a breakout season at Betis, get offers from, let's say, the Premier League, and maybe give Betis some well-needed money in 1 or 2 seasons because of the age, 25, and that would give Atlético Madrid half of the signing fee for Riquelme. So that would be a very interesting move for all sides. So there is still some wiggle room for there to make a profit off of this operation that could maybe make the Cardoso deal even cheaper down the line.
Yeah. Talking about if he sold to the Premier League for 40 million in 2 years, the Cardoso deal basically becomes a wash.
Yeah.
It's a free operation for a player who is 23 years old, a U.S. international, fills a position of need, Ricky. How many years have we gone without a pivot here?
Yeah, and I think we're just missing a piece, because that Barrios, Cardoso, Baena, I'm very reluctant to say the Paul there. I want to put another name. I want to put another name in that slot. It looks very promising to have those players playing behind Julian Alvarez. So we're starting to see some very interesting moves, and I would like to ask you about the signings we've had so far. Maybe we can grade them, like give an immediate grade, and then we can probably make our wish list. What would be our priorities if we had to go for the next targets down the road?
Do it. Let's do it.
So let's grade Cardoso in the first place. What would you say? I would give him a solid A.
B+ to A-.
B+ to A-. Okay.
Yeah.
If you had all the money to splash in the world in that position, who would be the player that would be an upgrade to Cardoso for you?
Oh,
probably Rodrigo. Rodrigo is the promised land, but
bring back Rodri. Just never let him leave.
Yeah,
just,
exactly.
Like raise his release clause back in 2019 to a point where Man City can't afford it.
Yeah,
instead of a 70 million clause.
Man City cannot afford.
Well, yeah, good point. They would have been turned off at like 170 million. Surely. Not 70. But yeah, in terms of value for money, in terms of what Atletico realistically can and can't afford, Cardoso, in terms of the profile and in terms of the prices, I wrote this on Into the Calderon this week. He's about the best Atleti could do. A player who is graded out very strongly in interceptions, duels won, tackles. He's emerging as a ball carrier and a reliable passer. Like, he's going to hold this midfield together. He's a bit like an anchor type. Someone in the engine room, like, dare I say, a Gabby or a Thiago even, which would be, it's been so many years since those two have roamed the pitch at the Calderon or the Metropolitano in Gabby's case at the end there. But I am excited about Cardoso. And there is also the element of he's the first American to play for Atlético de Madrid, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, it is. It's like it could mean an immediate bump to our podcast. So
there you
go. Into the Cardoso. I mean, we're going to have to create a special section or something like that.
Just like the weekly Johnny update.
Yeah. I don't know if you've seen that while we're recording this, and spoiler alert, we don't broadcast the program live.
Not yet.
The Chelsea Benfica match has been suspended for adverse weather. And they're saying that that's going to be a possibility during the second part of the Club World Cup.
Oh yeah.
It's a 1-0 advantage for Chelsea. I can imagine that if the game they have to play the game tomorrow, and there's an upset, like the score changes significantly, it's going to be like, dang, we have this game in our hands and we let it go. Very interesting situation.
This isn't like baseball, man. You can't just pick it up and start again tomorrow.
Yeah, no. It's a curious and unusual situation unfolding right now.
Yeah.
We don't get to see football matches. I mean, it's not as fail safe as NFL, where you see players playing in terrible conditions in the middle of blizzards, but
Play in the mud, snow, rain, doesn't matter.
It's quite unusual to see games suspended, especially in the summer. For
Yeah.
weather reasons in summer is kind of a novelty. And the World Cup is taking place here next year, so we're going to be coming back to these same stadiums. So it's an interesting situation that's developing. Just wanted to tie into what was happening right now.
Yeah, man, I just think that the World Cup next year, it's going to be chaotic. That's the word. That's the word I'm going to use to describe it for now.
It's going to be unusual, at least.
Unusual is another good word. Moving on, Matteo Ruggeri, Ricky.
Yeah,
kind of a surprise signing from Atalanta. The fee, according to Marca, 17 million up front, 2 million euro in bonuses. He's signing a 5-year contract, and he himself has confirmed the signing in a very word of the day, unusual way. Yes.
Yeah. Like answering an Instagram story or something like that, where he was where he was tagged, and it was like, please come and play, don't drink and party, something like that. That's what they were telling him, and he said it was something like very literally, bro, can't wait to start for you guys. And it's like, okay, so it's a done deal.
Yeah.
And it's exciting, but whenever I see that mock poster, that I don't know, the Fabrizio Romanos or the pundits of that announce signings, or that normally report on signings, they come up with, I can't help but feel that he looks like your regular Joe. Like one of your friends from your group of friends got a job at Atleti and he's going to play. He just looks like a normal dude. And that, I mean, he doesn't have this diva air around him, which could be good or bad, because, I mean,
yeah,
how many friends do we have that party way over their possibilities? They should probably be more focused on their job or what they're studying. So, yeah.
Yeah, I know a few in college.
Yeah, exactly. I'm excited about the signing because I spoke to Borja Aranda. He's a very good friend of mine. He's a regular contributor at Radio Marca, and Club and many other places. He's a coach and he's like very worried about the tactical aspects. And what he says is that he thinks that at the price, within that price range, he's probably one of the best signings that we could have.
Yeah.
But it's a little bit like Molina or other players that they looked very well on paper, but you're not very sure if they're going to come here and perform or they're going to come here and flop. So it's a toss. Should be a significant upgrade over Galan, or Molina.
Reinildo.
Or Reinildo.
Yeah.
But I still think, and Reinildo is his contract is running out in a month. So right now the situation would be Ruggeri and Galan fighting for a spot on the roster. It remains to be seen what's going to happen. I think there's going to be movement in that Galan, Ruggeri, Reinildo trio. I would not be surprised if Galan, for example, sought a transfer. If Reinildo was extended for an extra year, even if Atleti were able to sign Hincapié, which can play on the left side. Simeone loves to have those players that can play in multiple positions, playing for the position where he needs them the most. So if he really likes Hincapié, I can see maybe Cuti Romero, another central defender, and having Hincapié on the side, and maybe bringing in Ruggeri in the second half and having him play in his position and moving Hincapié. He loves to do those kind of movements around in the defense and move his players. We saw how often Lucas moved from the center of the defense to the side and how that
Yep.
was a regular thing for him. We know that Simeone rethinks the position of players and sometimes uh, creates a new position for that. My grade for Ruggeri, because of the unknown factor, I would say C. C minus would be maybe too harsh. C. I'm gonna leave it in
Ooh,
C.
just a plain C.
Yeah, upside, but
Okay.
remains to be seen. I mean, he wasn't what everybody was expecting.
Well, we were
Practically
expecting
nobody
Andy
was expecting
Robertson,
that.
so
Yeah.
you
I
know.
mean, I told you from the very first moment that I was not counting on Robertson to come. I just thought
Yeah.
there were too many factors that weighed into not seeing him as a good fit because of he would be arriving to an aging club. He's Scottish. It remains to see if he can adapt to the Spanish league. A lot of uncertainty there. I can see an Italian player coming, a South American player coming, and more or less considered a plug and play situation. But other leagues, I have more doubts.
Ruggeri is the first Italian to play for Atletico since our old pal Alessio Cerci.
Oh yeah.
You remember?
Yeah,
You
well,
remember
I mean,
Cerci?
some of them have an Italian passport. I mean, half of the Argentinians have a passport.
Yeah, Cardoso has one actually.
And Sally probably had an
Yeah.
Italian
Oh,
passport.
I was
Um,
texting one of my buddies about Insaldi and Guilherme Sequeira yesterday.
um,
Oh my gosh.
and Sally, when we were in the press box, there was a very very well known female reporter that he would hit on her every time he was closer. It was just outrageous,
Oh my
outrageous.
god.
Yeah. And I don't know if
Very
you
professional.
remember that Sally was arrested
I do remember that during a game,
trying to
wasn't it?
access
During
the
a cup
Calderon.
game.
Yeah, yeah. There
Yeah.
were there were some games where he was not included in the squad list, apparently for reasons that have to do very little with his on-field performance or his practice performance, and more to do with his off-field habits or
Yes.
vices. Yeah, there's some dark legends about Ansali's time here at Madrid.
We'll have to do a history segment on him, maybe not him specifically, but some of the
I,
bad boys
I,
at
I can't tell you
Atletico.
what I think I know about Ansali because it's never been reported. But we can't talk about, for example, because I do think I know what was going on with Ansali. I would tell you that the same thing, a similar thing, was reported about Petete Correa, and he did talk about it. The Correa from the Doblete, and we can talk
Mm.
about that in another moment.
Going back to Ruggeri, I like this signing. It
So you would
reminds me
say
of
you would upgrade it to a B.
I'm going to say a B. Yeah, it
Okay.
reminds me a bit of the Renan Lodi signing. And Lodi, that first year here, man, he was really good, and then it just never really clicked for him after that. Ruggeri, you hope, is going to be a little more, is going to have a little bit more longevity. He's 22, turns 23 next month. This is the kind of signing Atletico de Madrid should be making,
It has a
especially in
lot of
defense.
upside, and it's a surprise signing. It's a signing that we weren't expecting. It was off the radar. Kudos to the team for keeping it off the radar, being able to seal the deal without raising awareness and by contagion raising the price.
Hmm.
So good for the club, but it remains to be seen if he's a steal or if he's going to be the kind of player that we expect and we need from him the following season.
I like the bet either way. If it doesn't work out, the resale value is still there. Atletico can more or less recoup its investment. He's
Yes.
6'2", can play in a line of 5 or in a line of 4 as a left back or a left wing back. He's even played center back before. For his height, he's obviously pretty good in the air. He's a good crosser. He's a good ball carrier. Uh, Jose Rodriguez, who is the Serie A guy for the zone, said that Ruggeri isn't outstanding in any one aspect, but he's good to very good at just about everything. So this is
Yeah.
an ideal type of defensive player for Simeone to mold. How many young defenders has Simeone molded over the years? Who was the last one? Lucas?
It's one of those, yeah. It's one of those market opportunities that Atleti has to be more aware of and adamant to pursue, and which they haven't. I mean, the Samu Morodion bargain was there for the taking, and Atletico uh, it took that risk and has made a profit out of it. Um, it's been an instant win for Atletico Madrid. It could have been even more favorable if Samu would have believed in his opportunities of playing for Atletico Madrid, because I think that he would have had opportunities to play. But at the end of the day, of that weird operation ended up with Joao Felix in Chelsea. So I can never be mad about what the outcome of that operation. But yeah, it's one of those things that Atletico de Madrid has to get used to doing much more. I don't know what player from Palmeiras, a friend of mine was talking about yesterday. That wouldn't be so much of a steal as it would be a good market deal.
Oh, it got to be Richard Rios, the midfielder.
Yeah, Richard
He's
Rios,
good.
and the tag price for Rios would be close to 40 million, and I think that's it's turned into more or less the transfer standard. I mean, unless you're out of the of that area of a good to very good player, you're in that 40 million euro price range. I think that for 40 million euros, it would be a good signing.
40 million is a lot of money for Atletico, though. And Ruggeri is available for 20 million because he started only 19 games in Serie A last season. Because Gasperini was always shuffling through his options there. That's part of why the price was depressed a little bit. Well, speaking of players who cost at least 40 million, Álex Baena, Ricky, this is going to get an A to A plus from me.
A plus. Baena's a definite A plus for me, and he's a little bit of the promised land for Atletico supporters. They wanted Baena. They've wanted Baena for a full season. It feels like Atletico de Madrid always arrive like a season late to fulfill their wishes. It happened a little bit with Lenormand. He arrived a year after everybody was already pounding on the door to bring Lenormand, and again, we've been waiting for an entire season to make this signing come to fruition, and it comes at a very reasonable price, which is the thing that I was scared would probably make the operation fall apart. I think that Atletico de Madrid is spending wisely. They're spending reasonable amounts of money, but as the Club World Cup put on full display, Atletico is in the need of maybe 6 starters, and those are 3 players. So these 3 players are probably going to start from day one, and they have a very serious chance of becoming undoubted starters for the entire season. What other positions do you consider a priority? Because, I mean, it depends a little bit on where you envision Baena playing. I can envision Baena as a Griezmann replacement, sending Griezmann immediately to the bench. That would mean playing him a little bit more as an attacker that he would originally, and that would open a spot in the midfield that you would have to fill with another player. So you're looking right now at Barrios, Cardoso. What's going to happen with Rodrigo de Paul? Big question mark there for the squad.
What's going to happen with Conor Gallagher?
Yeah, and the defense. What's going to happen with the defenders? That's the other big. So we've graded our 3. You're much more of an optimist. I thought I was.
I try to be.
You're giving everyone A's and B's. Man, I'm the teacher, and you're giving A's and B's here, left and right.
But when we do our player grades for the season, if we get to that point, I will be handing out some C's and D's, brother.
Okay. So, what would be your wish list? Let's limit it to 3 players. Let's say we only have money for 3 players. and let's come up with a wish list. I'm gonna say because he's such a good fit for Atletico, despite being a little bit maybe too over aggressive pursuing the ball, I would say Cuti Romero is the number one target,
Yeah.
and that's going to raise the spending to around 80 million. So I would say Romero's number one on my wish list.
On mine as well. This defense needs a leader. Cuti Romero is a leader.
Okay.
And you know what? If the price is 60 million, the price is 60 million euros. That's going to
60?
smash the club record.
You're being a little bit of an optimist. I'm thinking more in the 80 price range. So I'm
Are
saying
Atletico going to pay that?
I'm saying maybe they have to settle for 70.
If 70 is well, this kind of segues into the second name on my wish list, Piero and Capie. Atletico need both of these players, Ricky.
I would say
Atletico,
yes,
I
because
think, need both of them.
unless you make a second go for Hanko, I would say you have to go for Hincapié and the versatility that he brings.
Same with Hanko.
For the same reason you're bringing Ruggeri and you can play him as a central defender, you're bringing Hincapié because you can play him on the left side as a left back. So yeah, Hincapié. That would be 40 million maybe. 50?
Yeah.
40?
So between those two players, if we're continuing this exercise, if Romero is going to cost, let's say 70, and Hincapié costs 40, that's 110 million euros on that you're amortizing on two defenders. It's a lot of cash. It's a lot of pasta.
Yes,
and
it is. But
you also have the looming specter of Santiago Mourinho. Are Atletico going to execute its buyback clause on him this summer, or is that going to be next summer?
I think they should, but then they have to sell one of their central defenders. They just purchased Lenglet.
Don't remind me. 3-year contract.
I mean, I don't know if Lenglet is a bargaining chip, and maybe they can tell Alaves, "Hey, take Lenglet and
tell Alaves, sure.
Give me 2 or 3 million for him." And
we'll shake hands on it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if Lenglet is a bargaining chip. He could very well be one.
Which would be fascinating, and over the years watching Atletico move in the market and seeing how we conclude deals, nothing would really shock me. It's just this club does weird things, man.
I mean, I don't know if Sevilla would be open to a transfer of Lenglet and getting him back.
Bringing him back, sure.
They're pretty big on bringing back their leaders, and they're probably they're feeling pretty orphan of leadership down there in Sevilla. So maybe Lenglet at a cheap cost can be bringing back one of the big names that they've had in the past that they had to let go for monetary reasons only, not because Sevilla wanted to part ways with Lenglet. And I can see that happening. Mourinho. So we're adding Mourinho, but I would say this is more of a. I'm not going to add this to our list. I'm going to put him there as a possibility because I just think it's a market opportunity that you would have to pounce on because he's just too cheap. He's 4 million, and you can immediately multiply that value just by buying him back and having him in the squad. He's a useful player, and I'm pretty sure that Atletico's defensive line is one season away from being completely different. I mean, we're in a transition period. We're probably going to be seeing completely different names 2 seasons from now from what we saw against Botafogo. The Botafogo is an end of an era for the defensive line, and the new defensive line started when they announced Ruggeri joining the squad.
Yeah,
I think that only Marcos Llorente is going to survive that renewal of the defensive line.
So into 2026-27 is what you're saying. Interesting. So that means this would be Lenormand's final season. Jimenez could leave this summer.
Yes, and we have to face a possibility that maybe Lenormand is not going to adapt as well as we thought, and is not going to be the kind of long-term signing that we thought he was going to be.
Like, it is scary to think about, but that head injury, it's a subdural hematoma. It's a very serious head injury. Like,
Yeah.
that is something that could forever alter his career. It's very possible that we have already seen that,
Uh-huh.
given the inconsistency of his performances, especially at this Club World Cup. We talked about his clumsiness. We talked about his lack of balance, his lack of composure, concentration, and duels. Like, these are all possible factors pointing to, what if Lenormand just isn't that guy that he
Yeah.
was at Real Sociedad and that he was the first few weeks he was here.
Yeah, but it does seem possible that we can see Jimenez leave the team, Galan leave the team, Langlais leave the team. Axel Witsel is 2 days away from getting ending his contract. Reinildo Mandava is 1 month away from the end of his contract. So we could very well be away a few weeks away from a complete revolution. And we've already seen, I mean, some of the cases it was a tit for tat. We brought Cardoso, but we shipped Riquelme away in the same operation. Why not think of a situation where maybe we bring a player and Galan is the bargaining chip that we're moving to a new team, to a new destination. Maybe even Jimenez, because he's got a long contract, but I don't think he feels very comfortable with the situation he's going through. He's played very few games this season, and I think it should be a cause of major reflection by all sides whether he should continue this career of ups and downs with so many significant dips in performances in the form of injuries that he's experienced as an Atletico player.
Yeah, in Atletico's biggest games this season, he was there this time, unlike in previous seasons, but he made mistakes. I think back to the Champions League first leg at the Bernabeu when Brahim Diaz puts him on the floor for 2-1. And, Galan makes the error on Rodrigo for the opening goal. Those two goals add to the pressure, add to the tension, and put Atletico into a scenario where they get screwed over in the second leg by the double kick, quote unquote.
Yes. So
So,
yeah.
Who's the last name on your wish list?
Well, I mean, the thing is that
Gotta be an attacking player.
Yeah, I mean, I really can't see if I had all the money in the world, I would be going after Lautaro. That would be my number one wish for Atlético Madrid. That would be the player that I really would want to see with that number 9, and that Lautaro Julian duo would be one of the biggest offensive threats of the world, and it would have a lot of punch, and it would feel very Atletico. It would feel that it's up there with tradition of Diego Costa and Falcao, and even going even more back in time, Penev or Kiko or Fernando Torres, those great strikers that Atlético de Madrid has always had in that position. Even the Suarez names come to mind. All of those big number 9s at Atlético de Madrid have Sorloth, who is a talented player, a very useful squad player, but he's not a starting number 9. And for various reasons, the most important one is Simeone is not convinced that he's his starting number 9, and he's shown it for an entire season. So I'm not very sure. I'm pretty sure that situation will not hold on Sorloth's side for another season. If he sees another season of this, he's going to want to go, and Atletico is going to be open to letting him go. And you talked about in previous podcasts, you talked about how the Sorloth deal was the constraint in time to having him as an Atletico player for at least a number of seasons. Once that number of seasons is met, and it makes sense for everyone to part ways, I can see both Sorloth and Atletico Madrid wanting to part ways, because Sorloth doesn't want to be a sub, and Atletico de Madrid don't see him as a starter
Yeah.
unless there's an incredible change in Charlotte's performance this season, and I can't see that happening. I just think that Atletico Madrid has got itself into another Morata situation all over again, where the player is the biggest fan of the player's performance, a bigger fan than most of the fans. And at the same time, I think that Charlotte is an upgrade over Morata.
He
A very
is,
clear,
undoubtedly.
a very clear, and I've had to discuss this with a lot of friends that think that Morata is a better player. I think that Charlotte is significantly better, significantly more effective. He's better with the ball. And I think that over time, however, this friction of having Charlotte play only the less important games as a starter is going to start to have an effect on the players' situation, and is going to end up with both sides wanting to look for a replacement.
If it's not there already, because Simeone does not, you said it, does not see Sherlock as a starter. I don't even think he sees Alvarez as his 9. That was
I
made
mean,
very clear.
He's willing to play Griezmann at his season's worst over Charlotte most of the time.
Yeah.
That shows.
And part of the reason is because he doesn't rate Sherlock like that, but he also views Alvarez as a complete forward, including, up to that point, his center forward, his number 9.
Yes,
so
except for Riquelme, who got bashed by Simeone after a very big mistake during a game this season. And if you remember that he pointed at Riquelme's mistake very, very blatantly.
Which game was it?
I don't remember.
Oh,
but
geez.
I'll look that up. Probably the only time I've ever seen Simeone pointing fingers, because it's normally like a collective taking responsibilities, blaming himself for any wrongdoings or shortcomings of the team. But he does indicate his confidence or lack of with his starting 11s, with his playing time. And it's very clear that Sarloff does not have ultimately the confidence of Simeone.
Yeah. So I think a striker is needed, or a forward of some kind who can play through the center is needed. We talked about this on Atleti Fanatics. My choice would be Darwin Nunez. Darwin is like the perfect candidate to rehabilitate his career at Atletico. Like, I look at Darwin and think we should have signed him years ago.
That feels like Morata 3. I mean, we're living Morata Part 2.
Listen, maybe I have a type. I don't know. Maybe I'm just used to being hurt. I have a type. But my gosh, Darwin
you chose Atletico. You had so many teams to choose. You chose Atletico.
I chose this one. I know, of all the teams.
I was determined by birth to be an Atleti fan, but you had the opportunity to run away and choose a team that won more and gave you less heartache.
Could have supported anyone.
But you definitely have a type.
No, Lautaro would be amazing.
And you were about to settle for Tottenham Hotspur, so yeah, definitely have a type.
You're gonna use that to bludgeon me for the rest of my life. There's this guy at Stuttgart, his 6'6" giant named Nick Woltemade. You heard of him?
Yeah.
Oh, he's a wild profile. I would love to sign him because it seems like he could play in front of Alvarez and behind Alvarez, behind the lines. It seems like he's going to Bayern though, because he's young and German, of course he is. But that would be like my 1A choice for center forward on my wish list. But I don't know, man. We'll see. We're running low on time here.
Right now?
He's at Stuttgart right now. He was playing for Germany at the under-21 Euros. Bayern apparently have an agreement on personal terms with him. Stuttgart are probably going to sell him for a lot of money.
He's a big dude.
Yeah, 6'6".
He has this Robin Hood vibe with a thin mustache and the goatee.
That makes it more appealing.
Yeah,
it's very Atleti to me.
Like an artist.
Yeah.
Robin Hood vibe.
Exactly. And we are the people's team here. We are the
Yeah,
people's
stealing from the
podcast.
rich to give to the poor. Yeah, that would make total sense. I mean, what about another go at Hanko? That would be a good one.
Henko would be fine. I wanted him last year. He is. I know that the metrics might be depressed a little bit by playing in the Eredivisie, a weaker league with a lot of talented players, but it is a league dominated by two or three clubs. Henko is good though, and he did seem kind of crazy to come to Madrid last summer. I know Ruben Arias said this week that he is still interested. He would be a cheaper alternative to Nkapie, and the age profile is still pretty good, still in his prime at
He's a
27,
Serb,
I
no, he's
think.
Serbian, isn't it? Isn't he?
Slovakian.
Slovakian. Okay.
Don't know if we've ever had a Slovakian player.
Yes, we have. Who was? Oh, yes, there was a Slovakian player, but that was ages ago. Let me look that up.
Yeah.
From Bratislava. I don't remember, man. Oh well, Babel was from Slovakia, no? Babel. He played the year after the doblete. Let me see if Babel is from Slovakia.
I vaguely I'm sure I've seen the name in passing. Like I've
Yeah,
heard people say the name.
you're an encyclopedia, so but
Yeah,
there's
Lettypedia.
and there's probably more than one because I wasn't thinking of Babel when I thought this about this. But yeah, it's not. I don't know. My internet connection is not giving me anything for the moment. So
No, maybe it is a good time to put a bookmark there for today's show, Ricky.
yeah, it's been an interesting one. Like very very brief, very news related, tied to the current events and the exciting market that Atletico has opening in front of it. So yeah.
I'm sure we're going to talk more about it next week, and we do have like a couple of history corner segments. We're playing catch up at this point.
We do. We can
We have
spread
to
that
get
out
back
over the
on.
following weeks. We have to get back on track, but we can wait until things start to quiet down on the news front, and then we can take it more to the history side and visit the history corner. Talk about I think what's number one on our to-do list in terms of revisiting history is revisiting Atletico's terrible finances and seeing where all the
The
debt
debt.
comes from. And I've got the 2022 Forbes list, which was like a special edition of the Forbes magazine that they published, where I think that Miguel Angel Gil and Enrique Cerezo were the people that enriched the most during that year in Spain. That was a year of the pandemic, and maybe we can tie that into talking about what happened with the season ticket holders and how they got an extra price they weren't expecting to pay for during the year of the pandemic, and how Miguel Angel Gil's personal wealth has skyrocketed ever since.
Yeah, we did mention that a few weeks ago, but it is definitely worth a deeper examination, a
Yeah,
deeper dive.
deeper dive.
We're going to leave it there for this
Okay,
week. You
great.
guys let us know in the comments who you think, who's on your wish list, your dream signings for Atleti this summer, and what you think of the signings that seem to be pretty close to completion but not yet announced. We are going to leave it there. Thank you all so much for listening on whatever platform you're
I
listening or
want to
viewing this on.
especially thank the people that are commenting, replying to our Twitter post, well, X posts, Instagram stories, YouTube, leaving comments in YouTube. Everything is very much appreciated. I read and
Yes.
I try to reply to as many messages as I see out there. We want to create a community that feels connected to us and that feel that we're reading them and listening to them. And if anyone wants to suggest a topic, we're probably going to be more than willing to tackle it.
Yeah, go for it. Let us know. In the
Yes.
meantime, that's Ricky. I'm Jeremy, and we'll catch you all again next week.